Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Everybody's doing okay. Today's Monday, and it's the first day of the work week, I guess. And very cold out here in Maine. In fact, I think there's some snow coming our way here, probably tomorrow, I guess. But you know, we press on in this state, and we deal with it as it comes. Oh, so let's go to the news here. And I got this article here from Mediaite. It was published today from David Gilmore, and it's entitled "Trump Sidelined Venezuela Opposition Leader Machado for the Ultimate Sin of Accepting Nobel Peace Prize." We're still talking about that. President Donald Trump sidelined Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corrina Machado as an interim replacement to Nicolas Maduro because she committed the, quote, ultimate sin, unquote, of accepting the Nobel Peace Prize instead of demanding it be given to him, according to the claims of White House insiders. The allegations follow Trump's public dismissal of Machado over the weekend following the capture of Maduro and his wife in a surprise Delta Force operation early Saturday. In a press conference that followed the mission, Trump said it'd be very tough for her to be the leader, claiming she doesn't, quote, have the support or the respect within the country, unquote. The comments stunned members of Venezuela's opposition, who had expected Washington to rally behind Machado, according to the Washington Post. Citing two people close to the White House, the paper reported Monday that Machado's efforts to praise Trump after winning the Nobel Peace Prize last year, an award long coveted by the president, failed to undo what one source described as the ultimate sin. Quote, if she had turned it down and said, I can't accept it because it's Donald Trump's, she'd be the president of Venezuela today, the source said. When given the award by the Norwegian Nobel Committee in October, Machado dedicated the prize to Trump, which she'd received for, quote, her tireless work promoting democratic rights for the people of Venezuela, and for her struggle to achieve a just and peaceful transition from dictatorship to democracy, unquote. At the time, there was a push within MAGA to see the president give the prize for work done during his second term, although nominations closed before he had regained the White House. Venezuela's armed forces have since recognized Maduro's vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, as acting president, opening the door to what U.S. officials describe as a, quote, soft transition, unquote. Rodriguez struck a conciliatory tone in remarks aimed at Trump, saying in a statement posted online, quote, President Donald Trump, our peoples and our region deserve peace and dialogue, not war, unquote, and expressed hope for a future, quote, cooperation agenda, unquote. Washington's posture remains overt in the region, with nearly 15,000 U.S. personnel, warships, fighter jets, and surveillance aircraft remaining in position across the Caribbean, quote, standing by, unquote, for further action. Trump has warned that Rodriguez could face a, quote, unquote, bigger price than Maduro if she fails to comply with American demands. Yeah. That doesn't sound like somebody that, you know, they're trying to say Venezuelans are happy with, you know, with the way situation has turned out. Now, I read an article over the weekend here about how Venezuelans in South Florida were all cheering and everything about Maduro being removed, but the attitude in Venezuela is a little different. Okay, the people down there are nervous because they don't know what to expect. Yeah, they got somebody running the government now, but with the United States as the backdrop here for this person running things, they don't know. You know, Trump, after what Trump did, I mean, it's hard to say you can trust the guy that he's going to help the country or not. I mean, already he's sitting there making threats, you know, to Venezuelan leaders and stuff, you know, to mind what we say. So, I mean, even though we got a vice president in Venezuela running things, it's still America's show. And Trump has said he wants to run that country. And, you know, my take on that is we are, you know, the United States needs help. The United States needs to fund things. We don't have the money to invest in running another country when we can't even run our own. You hear what I'm saying? I mean, all of a sudden this America First thing that he ran on last year doesn't seem to jive anymore with what his actions are today. So it's another fucking lie on top of lies that he's told all the voters last year that he was going to do and didn't do. America First sounded good, but he had no intention of making America first. He hates America. Why would a guy who hates America want to make America first? Okay? Everything he's done up to now has been to cripple this country, okay, and ruin people's lives. That's not an attitude of America first. And he goes into Venezuela. Yeah, so what? Yeah, Maduro was a piece of shit. Yeah, but there were better ways to handle that than the way he did it. Okay, better ways to handle that. Okay, and any other country in the world, if that was done, that would have been an act of war. Okay, they would be, you know, sending military after military, you know, to go to retaliate. But Trump knew that Venezuela is a pushover country, and he felt that he could do this and get away with it. But it stirred a whole shitstorm, you know, especially in the House. I mean, you got Democrats pissed off. You got some Republicans pissed off. You got, you know, people in the UN kind of pissed off. And it's good that they're pissed off. But, you know, if you're not going to back up your mouth with action, then you're just pissed off. And nobody cares. Nobody cares about how pissed off you are. You know, you either do something about it or sit down and shut up, you know. And like I said, this fucking, you know, this thing with Venezuela is simply just about profiting from their oil. That's what all this was about. And I can't understand how MAGA don't see it, or at least the ones that are still in MAGA, okay? I don't see how they can't see that. It's just, it's very scary in a way that these people can blind themselves to the facts and, you know, not see. I mean, even Trump said that that oil was his, you know. I mean, for Christ's sake, the guy tells everybody what he's going to do, and when he does it, you know, the MAGA's like, okay, yeah, great, you know, and they believe the other part of the other lie, which is we did it, you know, to stop drugs from coming into this country, when it's going to have absolutely no effect on drug problem in this country. We've never been able to stop that, and we never will. Okay, we just never will. The only way you can stop drugs is to stop people from buying it. Okay? I can't make it any simpler than that. They can bring all the fucking cocaine and all that shit all they want in across the border, but if nobody's going to buy it, they'll eventually stop bringing it in. So that's how you stop that. That's more effective than sending the goddamn Navy into a country, you know, and bombing the shit out of it, okay, and installing your chosen leader in power there. And as far as, Maria Machado, I guess, you know, Trump is jealous of her. I mean, like if I was a Venezuelan, I'd say, what the fuck does the United States have to have any say in what we do in our own country here? You know? Yeah, you got rid of our leader. Okay, thank you. Now get the hell out of here. That's what I would say. But no, we're not leaving. We're staying there. And that's what's going to piss the people off in Venezuela. They might be a little bit happy that the guy's gone, but in about a year or so, they're going to get like, hey, your welcome has overstayed. Get the fuck out of here. Okay? That's what's going to happen. I mean, we never really done well with nation building in the past, and I don't see that we've changed our ways at all, especially when you've got dingbats in the government right now. You think these people are going to do any better than the previous administrations tried to do in different parts of the world? No. They can't even take care of their own fucking problems they got in their own offices. So I don't see that as a positive. Okay, I mean, some of you people might, that's on you, okay? Good luck with that. Now on YouTube, there was a video clip here on ABC's This Week of Marco Rubio being asked a simple question, like, what's going to come next in Venezuela? Clearly, he couldn't answer that. So George Stephanopoulos, asked him, open and shut question. And, by what legal authority is the United States going to run Venezuela, as Trump has claimed? And the nonsensical word salad Rubio offered in response, which somehow included Hezbollah, makes it very clear that there is none. There is no answer, okay? Yeah, because like I said, this happened like overnight. Nobody made any plans on the United States taking Venezuela or what we were going to do with the country after we got it. Trump just got up one fucking morning with a hair across his ass and he said, send them in. Okay, send them people in there to get him out. That's actually worse than the way George W. Bush handled Iraq, because at least there was a build-up to it. Saddam Hussein knew there was going to be, bombings in his country at some point. He knew it was coming. This guy, Trump, he didn't tell anybody a goddamn thing. All he was doing is he was down there blowing up little boats in the water saying, oh, we're killing drug cartels or whatever. Didn't say anything about, oh, we're going to go into that country and take the fucking leader out. No, because if he had said that, there would have been, hell to pay for that. If he had any plans at all of doing it, people would have really got pissed about that, and maybe the UN might have felt that they had a chance to step in and prevent that, but no. So no, he lied. He distracted us with that while we were trying to distract him, or at least with the Epstein stuff. He decides he's going to do this raid, which knocked the Epstein stuff off the headlines. Okay, like it or not, people are talking all about Venezuela instead of the sex crimes he committed when he was, out and about with Jeffrey Epstein. And here's this other thing here, Pete Hegseth, committing murder with the full force of the U.S. military. He needs to face justice. U.S. forces have killed more than 100 people in dozens of strikes targeting boats across the Caribbean and Pacific. Absent authorization from Congress, the Trump administration's bombing campaign is illegal even if these were drug traffickers, as they allege. The truth is that we don't know who was on those boats because the Trump administration refuses to open up their extrajudicial execution campaign to oversight. We do know that Pete Hegseth was recently implicated in a second strike that killed 2 helpless survivors as they clung to a wreck, which is murder no matter how you slice it. We deserve to know the truth about these strikes, and Hegseth needs to be held accountable for these disturbing allegations. Yeah, I mean, that's another story there that got pushed to the side because of what Trump did here Saturday. So, I mean, like I said, Trump is a master at distraction, people go after him for something he did wrong. He sets off a nuke somewhere in the world, okay? And everybody, okay, this is what he does. This is how he skirts fucking responsibility for his crimes, And when are we going to understand that, okay? But, you know, the thing of it is sometimes the distractions he create are in themselves violations of the law. And so that actually gets added to the list of things that he could be impeached for. I don't know how big the list has to be before the Democrats and the Republicans said enough is enough. I don't understand why they haven't done that already. I mean, if it was any other president in past of this country, they had already been booted out of the office by now. Okay, they never would have tolerated it up to this. But this fucking guy, like I said, who is followed by a cult mindset, you know, MAGA, they're a minority group, and they got a stranglehold on this country, and that shouldn't be allowed to be in America, okay? You're not the majority thought, and the majority of the country's thought is about you getting out of office. They want you out, okay? That's over 70% of the country does not like Donald Trump right now, okay? And his approval numbers continue to sink, which means there's more and more people cutting and running from this sinking boat here of MAGA, all right? And all that's left are your sycophants, your ass kissers, you know, the people who don't want to see the fucking truth because they're afraid that it's too painful for them to admit they were wrong, okay? I run across these folks online all the time who think that they got a good foundation to stand on to argue with me over how good Trump is, okay? And it's laughable. It's not even worth the fight because the evidence is so overwhelming that Trump is not qualified to be running this country, and he certainly has not done a good job, okay? They don't even bother to see how many victims have been of Trump there are out there, and I ain't talking about just sexual victims. I'm talking about people who lost their jobs, you know, people who lost their health care, people who are losing their fucking income due to this man. And you know, it doesn't seem to matter to MAGA. I mean, some of these people were MAGA that got hurt with Trump. But no, you see, MAGA won't even stand up for each other. What kind of a fucking group of people is that? You don't want these fuckers, you know, involved in the government. I mean, they'll cut each other's throats. And that's what they've been doing here for months now, is when one of their own takes a fall because of Trump, they'll, okay, fine, goodbye. You know, whatever happened to a camaraderie in cults? There isn't any. These people won't even stand up for each other. So, yeah, that's, and as far as Hegseth is concerned, yeah, he, you know, him, definitely justice is ringing the bell for him, okay, but, you know, whether or not, you know, they should be able to move on Hegseth a lot quicker than Trump, right? What the hell is Hegseth anyway? He's a nobody, okay? Nobody knew about him until Trump paraded him in front of the cameras. They didn't even fucking know he was on Fox News on the weekend, okay? They didn't know this guy. So I'm surprised that they haven't made a move on him yet, but they ought to, because that would force Trump to get rid of him. Oh, and then Trump says here that he did give U.S. oil companies a heads up about Maduro. The president just literally admitted to sharing top secret military plans with American oil company CEOs to abduct Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro before the mission actually took place. Imagine the deafening calls for tribunals and public executions by Republicans if a Democrat administration openly copped to pulling a stunt like this. Truly incomprehensibly crazy shit from Mr. Butthurt emails. Yeah, so that right there is another piece of evidence that this was an oil grab. That's all this was. MAGA still thinks that's okay. Okay, because all they're seeing is, oh, we got rid of Maduro. That's their only reason to like it. So they don't care. As long as you got rid of Maduro, you can screw up everything else in the world and, you know, take away all of our money. As long as we get rid of this guy in Venezuela. America first, right? All right, let's go to a commercial break. We'll be back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar.
and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Rocking and a rolling, smishing and a splashing over the horizon. What can it be? The pilgrims sailed the sea to find a place to call their own. In their ship Mayflower, they hope to find a better home. They finally knocked on Plymouth Rock, and someone said, "We're there." It may not look like home, but at this point I don't care. Oh, they were missing Mother England. They swore their loyalty until the very end. Anything you say, King, it's okay, King. You know it's kind of scary on your own. Gonna build a new land the way we planned. Could you help us run it till it's grown? They planted corn, you know, they built their houses one by one. And bit by bit they worked until the colonies were done. They looked around, yeah, up and down, and someone said, "Hooray!" If the king could only see us now, he would be proud of us today. They knew that now they'd run their own land. But George III still vowed he'd rule them to the end. Anything I say, do it my way now. Anything I say, do it my way. Don't you get to feeling independent, 'cause I'm gonna force you to obey. He taxed their property, he didn't give them any choice. And back in England, he didn't give them any voice. That's called taxation without representation, and it's not fair. But when the colonies complained, the king said, "I don't care." He even has the nerve to tax our cup of tea. To put it kindly, King, we really don't agree. Gonna show you how we feel. We're gonna dump this tea and turn this harbor into the biggest cup of tea in history. They wanted no more Mother England. They knew the time had come for them to take command. It's very clear you're being unfair, King. No matter what you say, we won't obey. Gonna hold a revolution now, King, and we're gonna run it all away with no more king.
We're going to elect a president.
No more king.
He's gonna do what the people want.
No more king.
We're going to run things our way.
No more king.
Nobody's gonna tell us what to do.
Rocking and a rolling, swishing and a splashing over the horizon. What can it be? Looks like it's going to be a free country.
Happy New Year, everybody. I am officially back after being forced to take a very long break because I believe I had the actual plague. You can imagine my disappointment that I clawed my way through it in order to survive and come back to you all. And one of the first things I have to talk about is Donald Trump invading another country. Yay! Now, what I am not going to do is tell Venezuelans how they should feel about Maduro being captured in the middle of the night along with his wife and brought to the United States, New York City to be exact. Why do they always bring them here? There's so many other cities. And the reason I'm not going to tell Venezuelans how they should feel is because if another country decided to liberate us from the orange turd in office and went on over to Mar-a-Lago and dragged him out by his tighty-whities in the middle of the night, throwing in his mail-order skank bride for good measure, you couldn't tell me shit. I would be so excited. But unfortunately, we don't have a natural resource in this country worth going through all that trouble unless some leader wanted control over McDonald's, which by all means, you can have it. All I will say, though, is that the United States doesn't exactly have the best track record of invading other countries, toppling their leadership, and fixing things up. Because you see, with our $1 trillion defense budget, the invasion is the easy part. Unfortunately, our smarts and brain budget is zero. And you have people like Pete Hegseth in charge. Good luck rebuilding that country with someone who says, F around and find out. I could sit here and talk about the hypocrisy coming from Republicans and conservatives who all of a sudden are no longer America first, but let's spend money to liberate Venezuela. Especially when they told me we didn't have helping money when it came to the migrants from Venezuela that were fleeing said dictator and collapsing country. Using our tax dollars to pay for hotels for asylum seekers from Venezuela. No, no, no. Using our tax dollars, though, to go over and steal Venezuelans' natural resources? That's fine. Except that only benefits the oil companies, right? We're not going to see much out of that one. Lord knows I'm still waiting from the check from Iraq. And I'm sure you are too. You could sit there and say, Stella, sit back, see how it all unfolds, right? Before you say anything. But again, I think I've seen this film before, many, many times, and I don't want to have to wait 30 years before I can talk about it. After all, I did not survive the plague to keep my mouth shut. I've missed you all. It's good to be back, and God help us. Anyways, bye.
Where's the independence of the committee? Where's the legislature? How many years have not died? Do you believe in the First Amendment? Do you believe in the First Amendment? Stand up, fight back! Stand up, fight back! Stand up, fight back!
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Welcome back, everybody. Okay, another little article here. Bellicose Trump threatens multiple countries after Maduro's capture. Colombia, Cuba, Greenland, Mexico, and, why not, Iran. Take heed. America's wannabe dictator is obviously feeling frisky following this past weekend's audacious abduction of Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro and appears hell-bent on continuing his imperial march across the planet, no matter the cost. Less than 48 hours after Maduro's capture, Trump openly admitted that U.S. military action against Colombia sounded good to him, ominously warned Cuba was ready to fall, and repeated his desire to simply take Greenland for national security purposes. The MAGA cult leader told reporters, quote, "The European Union needs us to have it, and they know that," unquote, which, for the record, is very much not the case. Donald wasn't finished barking, not by a long shot. He repeated his earlier threats to take military action against Iran if the government cracked down on demonstrators protesting the state of the economy if it turned violent, which, by all accounts, has already happened. And finally, Donald issued a fresh warning to Mexico over drug trafficking, saying the country, quote, has to get their act together, unquote, or else. It's almost as if there's a festering scandal dogging the embattled president on the domestic front, and his regime is desperately looking for cover wherever it can find it. Almost. Oh, hey, speaking of, Department of Justice violates Epstein files by failing to inform Congress of reasons behind redactions. And perhaps the least shocking news of the day, Congress has yet to receive a lawfully required explanation from the United States Department of Justice regarding its excessive and aggressive redactions in the Epstein files turned over thus far. With millions more documents still to come, Trump's toadies at the DOJ simply blew past the January 3 deadline to deliver an explanation on what they are hiding and why. As Aaron Parnas noted for Media's News, quote, congressional oversight does not expire with inconvenience, nor does transparency depend on political timing. The Epstein Files Transparency Act was passed precisely to prevent delay, obfuscation, and quiet noncompliance, unquote. Trump can dither and distract all he wants, but Jeffrey Epstein ain't going away. Here's another thing. Top Republicans backpedal from Trump claim that U.S. will run Venezuela as questions swirl about what comes next. A number of prominent Republicans swiftly backpedaled from Donald Trump's bizarre assertion that the U.S. will simply, quote-unquote, run Venezuela after this past weekend's abduction of Nicolas Maduro, but their collective inability to explain what actually comes next betrays a truly disturbing reality. The Trump regime is officially off its imperial rocker and is simply making shit up as it goes. Maduro's vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, who is now considered the interim president, has the backing of the Venezuelan military and does not appear to be on the same page as the Trump administration, despite Donald's assurances otherwise. The MAGA cult leader told reporters Rodriguez had pledged to do whatever the U.S. needed, adding that, quote, she doesn't really have a choice, unquote. For anyone who turned into Venezuelan state television not long afterwards, the message from Rodriguez was markedly different. The interim president was sharply critical of the U.S.'s actions and insisted that Venezuela, quote, will never again be anyone's colony, unquote. GOP Representative Jim Jordan, a staunch MAGA ally and the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, really gave away the game during an appearance on CNN yesterday. When asked directly what Trump meant when he claimed the United States would take charge in Venezuela, Jordan openly admitted, quote, we do not know exactly what that means, unquote. When asked what is next for the South American nation of 30 million people, he simply said, quote, we'll see, unquote. Anyone else getting queasy? Quote, you break it, you buy it, unquote, vibes around here. Yeah, like I said, the attitude, they're trying to make it seem like it was such a good thing. And they were showing all the cheering and everything in South Florida here yesterday, I think it was, or the day before. People all happy Maduro's gone. Well, that's fine and dandy. I mean, if you're living in South Florida, it doesn't affect you, okay? But in Venezuela, it does affect them, because having another country come in and topple your government overnight, and, you know, basically leaving it open to whoever the hell wants to get in there, you know, that's that would be unsettling for the United States if somebody did that. Of course, I'd welcome it. We actually would be happy in this country. But in Venezuela's case, you know, what they saw was, you know, a big bully coming down and, you know, fucking with their government. Okay, whether they liked the guy or not, they didn't like the idea of the United States butting their fucking nose into what really was their problem to deal with, not ours. Okay, they needed to get rid of him. They never asked the United States, can you come down here and get rid of this guy, okay? No, it was their problem down there, just like if our problem is Donald Trump and it's our problem to fix. Okay, we're not going to ask another country to come in with guns blazing and steal this orange fat turd out of the White House and bring him to some country somewhere to be put on trial for crimes against humanity or whatever. You know, they ain't gonna do that. We have to take care of that. We created this mess here. We have to fix it. And what Trump done is illegal on so many fucking levels, and MAGA can pretend like they don't care about that. But like I said, if the table was reversed and we had a Democrat that did that, they would be screaming bloody murder, okay? That's what they'd be doing. So I know they're full of shit when they try to, you know, finagle their way out of this like this is a big positive, okay? Which, of course, it's not. Because it sent a message loud and clear to the rest of the world that, hey, guess who we got running the United States? He's not your friend. He's nobody's friend. He don't even like the people in his country he's leading. Just like Putin don't like anybody in Russia that he leads, okay? They're all all people that he can sacrifice. He don't care. Trump's the same way. If he needs more money, he'll take it from us before he'll take it from the wealthy. So what kind of a person do you think that is? You know? He does not have our best interests in mind. Ergo, he's not America first. Never was. And lastly here, Danish Prime Minister issues a fiery statement after Trump threatens to take Greenland. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen wasted no time issuing a pointed warning to Donald Trump about his renewed threats to simply take Greenland following the Trump regime's operation in Venezuela over the weekend. Quote, I have to say this very directly to the United States. It makes absolutely no sense to talk about the need for the United States to take over Greenland, unquote, Frederiksen wrote in a statement on a Danish government website on Sunday. Quote, the United States has no right to annex any of the 3 countries in the Commonwealth, unquote, speaking to reporters on Air Force One following the Venezuelan raid. Trump doubled down on his intent to continue his imperial conquests and took obnoxious potshots at Denmark, barking, quote, we need Greenland from the standpoint of national security, and Denmark is not going to be able to do it. That I can tell you. To boost up security in Greenland, they added one more dog sled, unquote. Frederiksen and Greenland Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen have repeatedly denounced the prospect of a U.S. takeover of the island. And a January 2025 poll similarly found that 85% of Greenland's residents opposed it. Yeah, of course they would. What the hell does Greenland have to do with the price of tea in China? Trump says, oh, national security. Really? When was Greenland a threat to us? When was Greenland a threat to stability in the world? Greenland has always been a very quiet country out there, okay? And for some reason, Trump has a fucking boner for this country. He wants to go in and do something with it. And it's like, you know, what gives you the right? What the fuck gives you the right? What do you think this is? You know, Rome? Okay? We don't need Greenland. Greenland doesn't need us. Leave the fucking country alone. Honestly, stop stirring the shit, because you know what that's going to lead to, all right? You may not think Greenland can put up a fight, but they got allies, and they wouldn't stand alone. They would not stand alone. And like I said, this is more issues here that the UN, you know, needs to stand up, get out of bed, really. Get out of fucking bed and do your fucking job. You need to start slapping down this country's government here. Okay, when Trump starts barking like that shit across the ocean, then you need to remind him, you know, this is it. Okay? We can really put a fuck into you if you keep this shit up, you know? That's up to the UN. It really is. It's up to the UN. And honestly, I think that, you know, because up to now it seems like the UN doesn't have any skin in the game, but they do. They really do. And if we don't get, you know, their attention here this way from Trump of all people, what is it going to take? You know, think of all the things Trump has done internationally here. You know, and the UN has kind of just been, you know, in the background, basically. You know, the world leaders, I mean, you know, doesn't anyone say anything about this, or is everybody on the take? You know, is the United States doing something for other countries that we aren't aware of? You know what I'm saying? Is that the reason why the UN has been kind of moot here at this point? I mean, because all these other countries that are members of it are getting benefits here in some way from Trump? I mean, I think that begs the question to be asked. You know, so, I mean, like I said, I've been very curious about that, because we all know why the UN was created, and it doesn't seem like they're really doing anything to prevent, you know, global war here. You know, it's one thing they're sitting here talking about rearming Europe against Russia, because Russia's being very aggressive. So is the United States. So what are they doing about that? I don't care if the United States is still officially a member of the UN. If I was them, I would just say, okay, even though you are, we're going to treat you as a hostile member. Okay? And if you want to pull out of the UN, that's fine by us, but we're rearming in this country, so we're not going to be just a pushover organization. Okay? We're going to have allies across the globe here. So when we rattle our sword, you're going to listen. When we tell you what you're doing is wrong, you're going to listen. So, like I said, this is something that, you know, I really am not certain how this is going to play out for this year, this mess. But I can't see anything good coming out of it, okay? Not even for Venezuela. I don't see that Venezuela is going to be very happy about this in the long term. They're going to get sick and tired of American boots on the ground over there. They're going to be sick and tired of American businesses, boots on the ground over there. And before you know it, Venezuela is just not going to be for Venezuelans anymore. Now, yeah, they got rid of one dictator and they're replacing it with a dictator government from across the ocean here. What the hell's the difference? Okay, you tell me, what the fuck is the difference? So, like I said, the midterms coming up are really, 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 really important here. Okay, it's our chance to put a roadblock in front of that bastard in the White House, you know, and we got to be serious about it. And we have to make sure we make the best choices, not to re-elect people who have done nothing up to this point, but to put in new people who are willing to do something. Okay, so think about that this year. Take a look at who's running. Take a look at who has the best record. Okay, but in a lot of cases, I would not encourage you to vote for somebody that's already been in there, okay, and has been quiet through all this. I would say it's time to change the diaper. Okay, it stinks to high heaven. You need a new diaper for your state, or, you know, or something like that. Okay, put that person in there. Okay, it can't get any worse than it already is, and you certainly can allow things to get worse by keeping people in there who are doing nothing. Okay, A lot of people are maybe good in front of the camera giving speeches, but that's not everything that we need a politician to do. We need them to back their mouth up with actions, okay? Not to stand on podiums and scream into microphones at people saying everything we want to hear, but then going back home and doing nothing, okay? We need more than just protesters. We need action. So that's my advice. Okay, people like Trump, this is, you know, and his administration, this is the time where the protest has to become action now. Okay, it's that bad. It's no longer about, oh, a cop killing somebody illegally or whatever in duty, okay, and protests over that. This has gotten worse now because this is crimes being committed at the top. You know, somebody in the White House, people at the top. And if our justice won't move for these folks, then what the hell point have we got to have a justice system at all? We might as well just have pure anarchy in this country. Would make more sense, because at least people would take the responsibility of, you know, going after folks that did them wrong and finishing it on the street instead of going through the rigmarole of having a justice system that doesn't work. Okay, honestly. I mean, you know, these people, these politicians have no idea what they're sending out for messages to the public by their inaction. That's what they're convincing us of, that, no, we don't need a court. We don't need that. Let's have street law. Okay? That's what we got to have, street law. Because it makes more sense in this day and age, because it's more expedient. You know, we go after the people that committed crimes and we, you know, eliminate them. You know, show us that the justice system we have is better, people, okay? Because until you do, people are going to be more and more encouraged to get violent. Just today here, Vance, somebody, you know, smashed up his house, okay? It looks to me like somebody took some pot shots with a gun through this window, because there's like 4 holes there. They're not saying what made the holes, but I think it was a gunshot, but it seems to me like, you know, people are really at the point where they're giving up on justice, doing the right thing. They're taking matters into their own hands. Now, they caught supposedly a suspect who might have been responsible for that. I don't know, because this story here is still developing. But yeah, I mean, things like that are going to escalate this year probably. We're going to see a lot more of that in the days to come, because people have had it up to here, and a lot of times it takes drastic problems to develop in order to motivate people to, you know, react. And I'm not trying to say that this is good. In fact, no, it's not good, because to dial all this back after you've opened the fucking gates is going to be harder than you think. Okay, it's going to take a lot of time to get people to restore their faith in the system. And by wrecking it the way the Republicans have been doing here for months now, it's going to be a big job to get people to care about this country anymore, or to feel like the justice system is fair. You know, it's a big fucking pea soup, and it's just not, you know, everything Trump does just makes this pea soup all the thicker with shit that it is. I mean, I don't understand why there's still 30% in this country who don't see it that way, okay? Unless they are so blinded by the, you know, cult mentality that comes along with supporting Trump, that they are brainwashed, really. I mean, you call about drones. These are real life drones. These people here, they can't think for themselves. They only parrot out what Trump tells them. That's it. They cannot understand what they're saying. A lot of times they don't even realize what the hell really has happened. Okay? And when somebody else tells them something that's contrary to what Trump said, they think, you're wrong. Trump is always right. Really? So it was right for him to abuse kids in a sexualized manner? You think that's okay? And you people are the ones that are always, you know, screaming for, you know, heads to roll there when someone's caught for pedophilia and stuff. Now you're quiet when it's one of your own. You know, I don't know. It's a really messed up country we live in. And by all accounts, some people would say, you know, when your country's this corrupt, you get what you deserve. You know, my father used to say that. You know, when you keep putting in corruption, you get back what you put into it. Makes perfect fucking sense. When people, like, they fall for these jokers and they think that, oh, we're going to have a great president, you know. No, it doesn't work that way, okay? Shit in and shit out is what you get. All right, so that's it for today, and I hope everybody has a great upcoming, well, the rest of the week anyway. So subscribe, comment, share. Keep your ears open for health issues out there, okay? And please, you know, treat each other with respect and kindness, and be helpful, and, you know, just generally be there for each other, because, you know, our lifelines are getting cut here right and left, and we're going to need them with one another instead of with, you know, people in our government right now. So I'll talk to you later, everybody. Take care.